experience, one of the most misunderstood professions is psychology. And the reason I say that is because some people, psychologists included, think that psychology is a branch of medicine. Some people think psychology is a branch of neuroscience. Some people think psychology is advice giving. And this applies to both the laymen and even to some psychologists. So when you ask around what psychologists do exactly, some people will think that the work of a psychologist is to give good advice. So they expect to come to therapy and the therapist will give them very good advice so that they can solve their problems. And if the therapist does not give them advice, they assume that therapy is not working. Now the problem with that is psychology is not about giving advice. Actually, if you go to therapy and your therapist is giving you advice, then we might have some problems, especially if that is like the majority of the time that you guys are talking, that every time you have a conversation with your therapist, they are giving you advice. That is a problem, because psychology is not about giving advice. Psychology is a field on its own. It's a field that deals with mental health issues and life challenges by using psychological concepts that exist. They have been researched, they exist in the literature, they are scientific, they are things that have been there for a long time. They are concepts that have been in existence for an eternity, right? So when you go to therapy and you're expecting your therapist to be giving you advice, then you are shortchanging yourself, because you can get advice from anybody out there in the streets. If you are a therapist and when your clients come to therapy, what you offer them is advice, then you're not giving them therapy, you're just giving them expensive advice. If you come to therapy and you're expecting your therapist to act like a psychiatrist who is a medical doctor, then you are in the wrong place, because psychologists are not doctors, they are psychologists. Psychology is a discipline on its own. And I don't think enough people understand that psychology is a discipline on its own. There's a misconception that psychology is a branch of other things. When everyone is confused and misunderstands what psychology is, then when you go to a psychologist, you won't know when you're being given good services, appropriate services, clinically sound services, and when you are being shortchanged by being given advice. If anything, you should not be taking advice from your therapist or from anyone per se. Like, your life is very unique to you. Only you know the things you want to do with your life. You might be confused at some points. You might be going through a lot of things that are making it difficult for you to make decisions. But that does not mean that you don't know what you're going to do with your life. And if you don't, you cannot wake up and go and ask a psychologist to tell you how to live your life, because they are not you, and they live a very different life from yours. And your experiences are your experiences. They are not your psychologist's experiences. So again, I will say this. Psychology is not second-class psychiatry. It is not second-class neuroscience. Psychology is psychology. Neuroscience is neuroscience. Psychiatry is psychiatry. And I don't know how else to explain this so that you can understand that there's a lot more that psychology can offer you than giving you advice, because psychology is not about giving people advice. I hope you're getting what I'm saying and where I'm going with this. And if you're a psychologist, please do not waste your client's time giving them advice. That is not your role. Your role is to use psychological concepts to help them change fundamentally, for them to change and see the world differently, for them to change and be able to experience the world in a different way, because the patterns that they have been using up to this point are the patterns that have contributed to their current struggle. They're not coming to therapy because they don't have enough advice. They're coming to therapy because how they have been living right now has been contributing to their distress. And the way to elevate that distress is not necessarily to change the world, because you can't change the world. And if you think you can, you should be an activist. But therapy is not the place to come in and be like, let's change the world, and the world is so bad and you're suffering, Aki, and Aki, people are bad. Aki, what are you going to do? Wah, even me, I'm struggling. Aki, the patriarchy is awful. Aki, there's all these things that we're going to bring in to justify our clients' suffering. But none of those things will solve our clients' problems, because you're not going to change the world by complaining about it. And psychotherapy is about handling clinical distress, people's problems from a psychological perspective. It is a field of its own. It is not a mini psychiatry. It is not a mini neuroscience. It is not a mini another field. It is a field of its own, stable and sure on its own. Tell me what you think.